Hi, everyone. Welcome to MFSN's Superdraft Pro Pick Day. We are here on Friday, and I am playing the role of Jim Ginocchio because he's out at the moment. Not just out, he's out sick. Where I'm here pinch hitting for him. Speaking of pinch hitting, the Fall Classic resumes tonight in Atlanta. We are going to have your fantasy picks here. We're going to have your super draft picks. And Ross the Boss, you are a machine about this. I'm going to get to you in a second. But we're also going to talk about the football game last night, the Thursday night football game, because defense, surprisingly, or maybe not so much, was the name of the game as the Packers handed the Cardinals their first loss of the year. So hello, everybody.
Welcome. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk Super Draft Pro with you, cowboy. It was, I guess AJ Green, did he retire in the middle of the play and just not turn around and just decided that he doesn't want to catch the balls anymore? I mean, what happened to him? Why did he not know he was the target? Do you watch the game? What happened?
I did, and I'm not sure. It's baffling. The one thing I'll say, just to cut some people some slack, when you got to keep your head in the game because it moves so fast. It's a deeply mental game. All of these games are. You got to stay focused. I don't know. I mean, AJ Green, he's having a resurgence this year. You would think that he would totally have his head in the game, but maybe he just
gave up on the ball, basically. And I felt if he turned around and put his hands out, I think they would have scored. I mean, Murray was like on the ground, like almost crying in agony because what happened. I mean, he really thought it was a touchdown. But no, it was an interception. Game over. Green Bay wins. They go 7-0 without Davante Adams, which is an unbelievable stat. Your best wide receiver's not in, and you go 7-0. Unbelievable. They just didn't win they just didn't cover. They won the game in Arizona to a team that's undefeated. Think about that.
Well, not only that, Ross, but think about this, and this goes right into super draft picks. The Packers behind Davante Adams, it's not clear what's there. And this is why they brought Randall Cobb in, I think, in part. But it's not clear what's there. It's incredible. It's incredible what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday you emailed me and wanted me to give you some picks for Super Draft. Yes. And why don't we go over those picks I gave you yesterday?
Let's do that, okay? Because I had my picks ready to go, and when I this is just for all of you out there. Trust Ross the Boss. Listen, what I say, you can take with a grain of salt. Listen to Ross on this super draft stuff because he is the man. I had as my champion Kyler Murray. You said, no, change it to Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, you know what? I'll tell you why I did it. I don't even remember how it ended up playing out, but Aaron Rodgers' multiplier was much better than Kyler Murray's.
And and he had more touchdowns and he had more yards. I mean, he was Murray had a horrible game. I mean, he had 0 touchdown passes and he had a couple of interceptions. He wasn't that great.
So Ross, how did you know? I'm channeling my Ron Burgundy voice. How did you know? How did you know? Wes Mantooth.
Well, I gave you Randall Cobb, 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, well, Randall Cobb I was going to pick anyway, but
I know you were.
15
Casey
yards.
told us about him.
He only caught 15 yards, but 2 touchdowns.
Matter. 2 touchdowns. James Conner.
That's the guy you helped me with most.
2 touchdowns.
How did you know?
He's been a touchdown. 7 touchdowns before the game. He had 7 touchdowns in 7 games.
So I guess he's a good bet.
I mean, it's just like, I know he's not out there that much, but when they get to the red zone, he's Mr. Red Zone. So, we had him. Of course, we had Murray, Rodgers, and then who's the other guy we had? Who's the other guy I gave you?
Aaron Jones.
Jones.
I think his multiplier wasn't that good.
Doesn't matter. He had. I think he had at least 1 touchdown, I know, and he had a bunch of yards receiving and rushing. So overall, you had a good day. I mean, I felt the game overall was all what expected. I thought to be a little more scoring. Kyler Murray was a big disappointment. I didn't think he had a good game. I mean, the first half he looked awful. He picked it up a little in the second half. DeAndre Hopkins did not play that much. He was in and out of the game, but he probably played 10% of the snaps.
Right.
But overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a really fun game. There's nothing really else on, so I watched the football game last night.
Ross, let me ask you this. So, we had Aaron Rodgers as our champion, and then Kyler Murray we also played. Is it pretty much always the case when you're playing with two elite quarterbacks, you should have them in your picks?
The thing is this, you got to go against the grain if you really want to win.
Course.
I mean, Cobb's multiplier was probably really high. And I think if you took Cobb or Connor as your multiplier, you probably would have got more points because their multiplier was so high to begin with. I think you times at 0.5.
Ross, do you mean as your champion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. No, that's what I'm starting to learn. I mean, I'm newer to Superdraft, but I'm learning. If I had picked one of those as a champion, I could have won a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You got to take a chance sometimes, and you got to take a side, and that's what I'm going to do with the baseball game today.
So let's shift over to that. We got the World Series pivotal Game 3 tonight in Atlanta. Series tied at a game apiece. Luis Garcia is getting the start for the Astros. The Braves counter with Ian Anderson. This is just kind of funny to me. It's funny how on Superdraft they have other pitchers, so you actually got to check which pitcher is actually pitching because you don't want to pick Zach Greinke when he's not even starting.
Well, they have like Max Fried is like a one multiplier. It's like Max Fried is not pitching today.
I know. Right.
So I think they just do that just to fool you a little bit and just to throw it out there to see if some people aren't paying attention who's the starting pitcher for the Braves today. But we know who the starting pitchers are. It's Garcia versus Anderson. So we're good with that. And we know it's in Atlanta. There's no DH tonight. And it was raining in Atlanta yesterday. I don't know what the weather is today, but if it's raining and stuff, it's going to be a little cold, I'm sure, in Atlanta today. So I don't know how far the ball is going to be flying out, but that stadium's pretty easy to home runs anyway. So I expect this game to be a pitcher's duel. They haven't had one yet. Both these guys are sharp guys. They're both on my fantasy team during the regular season. I know these guys inside and out. You actually tried to trade for one of them before. But, I mean, long story short, this is going to be I think it's going to get like a 4-2, 3-2, 5-2 game. It's not going to be a high-scoring game tonight. And we got to take a stand on the multiplier when it comes to the pitcher. And that's what I did tonight. My champion tonight is Luis Garcia. I'm taking the Astros tonight to win. I'm going heavy on them with players and with the champion being Garcia. I just have a feeling that the Astros are going to win. I mean, Dr. Dan Ratner, what's your opinion about tonight?
All right. Well, listen, I went the opposite way, but
that's okay.
But similar thinking. I think it's going to be a pitcher's duel, and I have Ian Anderson being my champion. I was looking at the numbers, and I was like, you can pick these hitters, but if you're going to win big, you're going to win big. I mean, look, if you hit on the right champion, you're going to win big, but I think there's more of a chance that one of these pitchers does a great job and ends up being the champion. I really like.
I think you're right. And Garcia being a champion, his multiplier is up to 2.4. So,
right. So that, and look, you're the one who's probably playing the better odds.
Well, if you did Anderson as a champion, it's 2.2. It's still not bad. But I think you got to take one of the starting pitchers as your champion. You took which in my flex, I took Anderson as one of the players. I took Altuve, who I think's back on track. I think he's back on fire again. His multiplier is 1.6. I'm also taking Jordan Alvarez. I know it's low, it's 1.1, but Dan, I mean, you've seen that guy hit. I mean, he's amazing. What do you think about Alvarez?
Well, let me make a comment on this just about Superdraft in general. Sometimes the multiplier isn't good and you still take him. I mean, in football, Derrick Henry is often like a one-times player, and I'm still going to take him because he's going to score 3 touchdowns.
And Cooper Kupp too. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But, I mean, certain players, you don't even care about the multiplier. And
right.
I think,
and Jordan Alvarez, he's been a machine. I have Altuve as well. I think that's a good pick. I liked a lot of the Braves hitters in their multipliers. I could be wrong about this, but I think Freddie Freeman is a pretty solid pick. Ozzie Albies.
I do have Eddie Rosario, he was the MVP in the pennant for the Braves. He's been like their best hitter, especially in Atlanta. He's been killing the ball. His multiplier is 1.75. He's another guy I threw in the mix. And I love this guy. He's been having a great series. Is Alex Bregman. His multiplier is 1.55. I got to go a little more heavy on Houston tonight. I think they're going to win the game. That's why I'm doing it. But you can go Atlanta. Riley has been their big hero at third base. His multiplier is 1.75. Put him in the mix. If you have more than one ticket, you can put Riley in there. And then Jock Peterson. I mean, we all know I know his personality is not the greatest. He doesn't like to talk that much. Doesn't matter in baseball. This guy loves to hit the ball, especially during the October time. And his multiplier is 1.95. That's really high for Jock Peterson. And he's going to be hitting tonight.
Ross, let me ask you this. I mean, because I'm learning the ropes with Superdraft. I'm not as far along as you are. I don't think I'm as far along as Jim is, but I'm getting there. It seems like it's better to go in with a strategy, with an idea of what you think is going to happen and then predict it. So like I picked Ian Anderson and I picked Braves hitters because I think they're going to win the game.
That's what I did with Houston. So you and I have your philosophy is Atlanta tonight, which I like. And my philosophy is Houston's going to win the game tonight. And I went more heavy on Houston hitters, and you're obviously going to go heavy on Atlanta hitters, and we'll see what happens. I mean,
right? Because
the whole great thing is I have the elite package, which means I have 4 different tickets I can play with different, so I can go heavy with Houston. I can go heavy with Atlanta. I can do a mixed bag. I can have fun with it.
And as I start to experiment with this, I'm going to start to report back. You're going to hear back from me, and I'm going to learn from you. But I do think it's important for the viewers out there when you're thinking about Superdraft and how to play this. You don't want to pick Ian Anderson as your champion and then 4 Astros hitters because
it's like
that's not going to happen.
No, well, I mean, you're kind of betting against yourself. You're taking the pitcher like Garcia, like I'm taking. I took all Houston hitters except Rosario. That's what I did. I took all their big hitters. Altuve, I took Alvarez, I took Bregman. I mean, I'm taking all their heavy guns, and I took Ian Anderson too as a flex because pitchers, as you know, get points, and I think it's going to be pitching too. I think both pitchers go beyond the 5th inning, so I took Ian Anderson, I took Rosario, then I took Houston hitters, but you can even throw Rosario out and just take all Houston hitters and Ian Anderson. I can do that too. I think I did that with 1 ticket. But again, what you're saying is exactly what you have to do in baseball. You have to take a side. You can't have a mixed bag. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And I want to ask one last question, and we'll wrap up here today. But the what do you see as the differences with Superdraft in when you're picking NFL, when you're picking Major League Baseball? Do you have to think about your strategy differently? Because like we're saying in baseball, if you think it's going to be a pitcher's game.
Well, in baseball, it's usually with the World Series, it's 2 teams.
Right.
In football, you get all the morning games and you get all the afternoon games. It's usually about 10 or 12 games you get. So you have a lot bigger selection. I mean, you could take a lot of different teams, different players, different scenarios and all that stuff. But when there's only 2 teams like tonight, and sometimes, on Thursday night games, they do that also, and Sunday and Monday night games, you got to take a stand. You can't be a wishy-washy. Like, I don't know who's going to win. I'm not quite sure it's going to be, you can't do that. You got to you got to be clear. You got to be clear. And, I don't really take relief pitchers, but maybe I'll throw Will Smith in, or maybe I'll throw Presley in for the Houston Astros as a closer for tonight, because we both think it's going to be a close game, and saves are worth good points. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see what happens.
I like though how you think strategically, and that's how you have to do it in these things. Yeah. And you got to take some chances based on those multipliers. So Ross, I'm learning from the best.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do enjoy watching Houston hit. They have an unbelievable lineup, potent, and it should be a good game tonight. I'm excited. I just hope the weather's good.
All right, now listen, everybody out there, come join Ross, me, and Jim. He's going to be back soon on the Superdraft app. Pick the Elite package, and you can play as many as 120 contests over the next 30 days for free.
And contact us through the show. I'll go step by step with you. Join Ross the Boss's Army, and I'll show you how to win.
Love it. Catch our fantasy sports Superdraft daily picks live Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And our weekend special kicks off Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. For Ross the Boss in Los Angeles, I'm Dr. Dan Radner in Cleveland, Ohio, and we'll see Jim Ginocchio in Atlanta soon. We'll see you tomorrow.